Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I'm Michela Fassi, Communication Manager at Milestone, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. The webinar today is dedicated to the value of macro-digital in post-mortem examination, and we will discuss the autopsy challenges with a special guest today, the US Coroner, Mr. Hetrick. Before giving the floor to the speakers, I would like to grab your attention for a few seconds on this slide. You can see the basic functions of the Zoom platform through which we are broadcasting. So the meeting controls are at the bottom of your window, and they hide if you do not use them. They reappear if you move your mouse over them. You can see the chat box, so you can use the chat to communicate with me in case of any technical problem. And also you can see the Q&A icon. This webinar is intended to be interactive, so we encourage you to ask questions. We will collect questions and answer as many questions as possible at the end of this webinar. Now let's take a quick look at today's speakers. We will first have an introduction by Gianluca Micheletti, Area Manager at Milestone here in Italy. He will give a short description of the MacroVIEW unit, which has been adopted by Mr. Graham in his daily routine in the Coroner Office for death investigation and forensic routine. Then we will give the floor to our US colleague, Tom Isbell, Territory Sales Manager, who will have the pleasure to interview Mr. Hetrick. Now, a few words about Mr. Hetrick, even if his biography is pretty huge. So Graham Hetrick is a subject matter expert on medical legal death investigation, forensic methodology, and many other subjects. He advises the news media and consults attorneys on the investigative process. He lectures widely on forensic autopsy and crime scene management. He is professor. Most recently, he has been starring in the TV series The Coroner, I Speak for the Dead. And most importantly for us, he is a satisfied and happy user of our MacroVIEW system. He uses MacroVIEW in his daily routine in the Coroner Office, and he will tell us his experience. Now, I think it's time to start. This presentation today will be recorded and will last about 45 minutes. So I'm gonna take off my presentation and switch off my camera so that Gianluca can begin with his brief presentation of the MacroVIEW. So Gianluca, if you are ready, you have the floor.
Thank you, Michela. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. I'm Gianluca Micheletti from the company Milestone, and I welcome you to our webinar. Today's topic will be a very fascinating one as we speak about an important medical practice, so the autopsy. And before leaving the stage to our special guest, Mr. Graham Hetrick, I'd like to make a brief intro about an autopsy because it has several reasons and several purposes to be done. It goes from the diagnostic reason because only with the autopsy sometimes we give a complete understanding of why the patient has passed away. It has, of course, an educational reasons, as we see also well described in this frame from Rembrandt van Rijn, that has a student, a medical practicer around him and use a body as a teaching tool. It has also quality assurance need to be done because they have to clarify any discrepancy in between the clinical understanding of the case and the real reason of the case. It has a research purposes for particular organ or tissues to be taken, but also has sometimes a technical only purpose. So we do an autopsy to take the hardware back that it was implanted into the body before the death, or to send samples to other facilities. What, as a company, as an industrial company, Milestone did for making the autopsy procedure easy and more complete. So we developed years ago a unit called MacroVIEW, and now I'll give you a brief overview, especially to whom is not yet confident with this system. MacroVIEW is a mobile digital system to get the autopsy documented and recorded. So it is equipped with a waterproof keyboard and a barcode reader, and a new large 19 inches touchscreen control terminal that operates a mobile head with a digital camera in it. It's also very easy to clean and disinfect because it's coated with an antimicrobial coating for the ease of cleaning and for the best safety. But it also has an improved stability because it has been built on 4 wheels with a long-last battering on at the bottom of it that gives stability and the possibility to operate MacroVIEW for hours without plugging into the electrical power plug. The arm is the core of MacroVIEW, and it's easily operated by the practitioner, and it's motorized. So by a button, he can move up and down the position of the camera to get the whole body taken. So with this camera, you can take particular images, details of the body, but also the whole body itself. What are the main benefits of our MacroVIEW unit? So with it, you can completely digitalize the autopsy procedure and provide a complete legal evidence of the procedures done. It reduces time and cost because the operator itself can do the autopsy and at the same time take digital files and digital informations that are images, video, and audio descriptions. Those files can be later on modified and edited or added with comments or measurements or sections and so on. All these images can be therefore collected and pasted into the final medical report or sent to the laboratory information system for making the final report. It goes without saying that the MacroVIEW is an ideal tool for teaching and for educational purposes because the live image, live video can be streamed to other rooms or to other computers for making the audience able the procedures done at the autopsy room. So at the end, the operator, as you see in this picture, can operate the camera by recording videos with a single button, recording audios, take images, even operate a LED lamp to illuminate cavities in the body, and operate the zoom of the camera in and out. And then the images, as mentioned earlier, can be sent to the server or to the database, and later on can be modified with annotation or add with comments for making the final report more easy to read and more complete for the whole medical team. All these images can be automatically saved into the patient ID folder. Very important topic and features of MacroVIEW is the connectivity. So it has been developed and designed to be easy to be connected. It's open to be connected with your LIS system, as all the information taken by the time of the autopsy are immediately sent to the final destination automatically without the operator to do anything manually. Now I have the pleasure to give the stage back to the coroner, and I thank you, Michela, for doing so.
Thank you, Gianluca, for your explanation. I think it was pretty clear. Now let's see if Tom, our colleague from US, is ready so we can give them the floor. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can just start to type them in the Q&A box and we will collect them and answer them at the end of this session. So, Tom, you have the floor.
Michele, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. I'd like to take a moment. Graham Hetrick is Dauphin County Coroner. He's somebody that I've worked with, somebody I consider a friend. Yeah. Graham, I know you pretty well, but please give us a brief introduction to yourself and where you work.
Okay. I work at the Dauphin County Coroner's Office, which is in Pennsylvania. It is a county that has a varied population, anything from the Amish to a capital city to an inner city where there are issues of crime in the urban lives there, and yet you have a vast expanse of suburban and then agricultural. So it's anything from an agricultural accident to a shooting that may end up in the coroner's office. I have been in a life of investigating medical legal death investigation, even before the American Academy of Forensic Scientists had a subsection for it, because I was originally in the military police and 52nd CID, and I happened to be the son of a funeral director. And so whenever there was a body involved, they'd say, oh, let Hetrick handle that stuff because he's used to it. So from the very beginning, I was the one collecting evidence on or about the body or documenting autopsies and that sort of thing. That was back in the 60s. Oh, wow. So it's been a long journey. It's interesting. I went into the military to escape the death, because my father, I was born above a funeral home. I always saw the death. If I was talking to my father, I might be talking to him while he's doing an embalming and I'm talking about wrestling practice or school or something like that. It was so common to me. So I came back to the States and finally decided I wanted to get back into forensics and did so. And I've been doing this now for 31 years.
All right. Got to move on to the next question. We'll keep going through these. I recently touted you as the celebrity coroner. That's partially due to your TV series, The Coroner, I Speak for the Dead.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the idea is behind that series?
Well, the idea behind that series was really inculcated in the title, and that is, I do believe that if we look at how people die, we can understand how we're living. And this doesn't go just with homicides and that type of thing. So we can document that, and then because of being in a forensic investigation, we can further, you can look further by just tracking what people are eating, what fats they consume in their body, what other chemicals they consume in their body, and then voila, these are things that we're looking at from a natural point, because about 70% of our deaths are in fact sudden natural cases or sudden accidental cases, not homicides.
Understood. All right. Knowing that no day is exactly alike in the coroner's office, can you give the audience an idea of what a workday may look like and the tasks behind a single case?
Yes. Today, Tommy, he was there the day for that one autopsy. I'm going in, and then I'm going to be doing case reviews, reviewing medical records, toxicology levels. In the same day, I'm coming home not so long ago. I guess it was just last week, and you get some really unusual cases. And this was a law firm that was digging a sidewalk around the office and doing some remodeling. And the digger came up, and there's a tombstone. So the deputies go out, we go out, and the case is, well, what do you do? There's a tombstone there. There may be somebody underneath the tombstone, even though it had been laying flat in the ground. And looking further, we found out the building was very historic. And then looking further and using LexisNexis and some other things, we figured out that there actually are some relatives. And in the inquiry of the structure of the building and everything, there was this maid's quarters. And I think we're coming down now through the research of this was most likely the maid that had served the family for a long period of time, and they buried her right on the property somewhere around 1930. Yeah. So it's really a very, like you say, no day is ever the same. And
it's crazy. You get one day you're full of homicides and natural death, the investigations, the typical thing that people think that coroners do, and then you're out here interacting with and researching a historic scenario. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So moving on to the next question, talking about your job, what are some of the main difficulties and challenges you face on a regular basis?
Well, I think that funding is one, because dead people don't vote. So politicians aren't all that interested in funding it so much. I remember I had a commissioner tell me, well, you don't make any revenue. And I said, well, that's not my job. I don't make revenue for the county. But then I also reminded them that, and this is important to the macroscope, a judge told me, he says, Graham, you have no idea the hundreds of thousands of dollars you save every year, because the evidence you produce is so compelling, more criminals will plead a case rather than have it adjudicated, which costs expert witnesses, time, judges. It's harder on the system. So it has helped us produce the evidence we need, so that it is so profoundly there that a criminal or even insurance companies with automobile accidents and civil cases, all of it, they settle. And right. that saves a lot of court time.
So one of the main difficulties that I'm hearing from you is providing and providing compelling evidence and convincing a jury what might be there, even preceding the jury process and getting the defendant to plead out and save the county money.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Understood. Fair enough.
And that's what's done best by that unit.
So transitioning into the next question, why did you have the need to use the MacroVIEW unit, and how did you work before you even had MacroVIEW?
Well, I actually started, I've been doing this at the coroner's office for 31 years, and we were actually working with film. So the average homicide when people were using film was probably either 12, 24, or what was it, 36 rolls. It would be very limited with, and you would also have to do bracketing all the time of each thing you shot, because of the lighting or that type of thing, and you couldn't readily see your picture. Where here we take it for granted nowadays. We shoot, we look at it and say, yeah, that's good. And so that was a different age, and there was not as much photographic identification as there is today. So it was very limited. If we do a case today, even in documenting and confirming a case was in fact a natural case, it may take anywhere between 20 and 100 photographs. Homicides can run up to 300. So it gets pretty amazing, because the essence of the forensic documentation is that once it's out of the chain of custody, it's lost.
Right. So
we will photograph probably much more than what we have to photograph, because we don't at the beginning point understand whether that piece of evidence is the nexus to everything.
Sure.
So that's what we do.
So basically what I'm hearing, in the old days, you used 35 millimeter before you had digital capabilities with the MacroVIEW.
Right.
And it's made it a lot easier to capture more pictures and document better every case that goes through your department.
There's no doubt that there's no doubt.
We kind of touched on this previously, and even just now. You once told me in a previous interview that MacroVIEW has had an impact, economic impact on your county. Please explain how MacroVIEW has had an impact on the economics of your county. Again, we did touch on this a little bit, so you can probably be.
It is that ability to be able to communicate to a jury, whether it's in a civil case. Let's think of an industrial accident, or which we used in an industrial accident not so long ago, automobile accidents, all these sort of things. It is such a clear indicator of specific features of a death that it can then be related to either a judge or attorneys or juries, and they then concur and do not debate the cause and manner of death. Now, when that occurs, that means you don't have 20 expert witnesses coming in, each charging a phenomenal amount of money, both for their studies and their testimony. And it will also confirm that our diagnosis of that cause and manner.
How do you actually use the information that you collect on the MacroVIEW? So once you take the pictures, you download it into your system, and then do you evaluate every picture on your computer? How do you use that? How do you go forward with that once you collect that information?
Well, it's so powerful in that it has multiple uses through the entire process. So here we are, we get the pictures. We have the ability then, we have documented all this detail. We have the ability, when we're getting closer to final decision, to go back and review all of the data from the macroscope, because we have that final review. The final review is, a coroner is sort of like a conductor, and then everybody else is like a symphony. You have the CSI guys, the crime scene investigation guys. You got the investigators. You have the toxicologists here, and this and that, and that's the whole symphony, And there's like the different sections of the symphony. So I tap the whatever they call that, the stick, and I get everybody ready, and we start. So now we're all functioning and we're pretty much in level, but we have to go by the same sheet music. And part of that sheet music is the evidence collected. And that evidence collected there, we can review. And it starts with a review afterwards. Then we can name the song. And we name the song, the cause of death, the manner of death. We name it.
Right.
Now we got to play this. So to play it, then we have to go to the legal system and say, this is what we found with reasonable medical certainty. And they say, well, how did you come to that? And we say, well, let's play the song for you. And in playing the song, we have the images, the calculations, the attending evidence, and we bring it all together, and that's it.
Excellent.
So it's
I
part of
love the song reference. It's definitely a personal piece of enjoyment. It also is very enlightening in that way to refer to your process as a symphonic gathering. So I like that.
Yeah, it really is a good one, but
yes,
that doesn't always happen.
Open, we'll say.
Right.
Can you tell us any case where the use of MacroVIEW has been particularly relevant and aided in the successful criminal verdict, i.e. any case that MacroVIEW is allowed to make the difference in a verdict?
There's been many. Some of them have to do with the coordination of calculating the wound. We have the ability there to compare, again, the symphony. Somewhere in that symphony, somebody's talking to the perpetrator or the person, let's say in a stabbing. And I remember I had a fellow once that had a tremendous argument with his wife and claimed that she ran at him 5 times while he was accidentally holding a knife. And it didn't really sound great to me. And we looked at the wounds and we were able to confirm with the macroscope the different angles
Very nice.
of the attack and that type of thing. So it's been used quite a bit in that type of thing. Also, in that stabbing, the fact that the person was trying to move and avoid the punctures, and in that case, that causes a different type of wound, and we were able to document that wound. So
the picture is 1,000 words, right? So
yeah, it removed it from the he said. Well, she would have said, but she had passed away. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you. Is there any particular situation where MacroVIEW is especially useful in your investigations? Obviously, we talked about bullet wounds. We talked about this particular knife wound.
You know, it's so varied. We've used it for natural cause as well as for all the other causes and manners of death. I'll give you an example. Automobile accident. Everybody's lying about who was driving because there's alcohol involved, right? Yeah. And we have used it to show the difference of wounds on the face to place the person in the car at one side or another, because there's a difference between the tempered glass of the side windows as to the laminated glass of the front window. Excuse me. The side windows will create this little L, or what we call dicing wound. So we calibrate those, and then possibly wounds or position or airbag dust on the clothing. And you can place the guy in the car and who the real driver was. You know, right. So interesting things like that. So it's been used, and from an anthropological standpoint, I can look at I can give an age range for a bone. Let's say a humerus, and as you know, there's epiphyseal plates when they're young until they reach puberty, they're pretty pronounced. We can document those in really good documentation that then can make your case. This is a younger person because the epiphyseal plates are not even closed yet. You can do that with radiology, but for a jury to look at it on a radiology plate as opposed to, wow, there's the bone right there, I'm looking at it, and they can say, oh yeah, and we explain how bones grow and that this was probably in this range, you know. So I'm sure it's going to expand as we go along.
Very cool. From your point of view, a coroner's point of view, how has MacroVIEW made your job easier? Are there specific features that made this possible, or is it just overall the instrument helps you?
Well, I think it's very usable now because of its mobility. When you move from fixed stations to mobility, you went out of the clinical realm and into the realm of a practical forensic operatory. And that's really important. That's number one. The ability to acquire the images in a reasonable amount of time. And by that, I mean, as you know, the first one was very good and it served us well, but the acquisition of the image is much quicker now and it's more stable. And so we can do it much quicker and have more adaptability with it. The quicker those images are caught and the quicker you can process that type of thing. We even use it on clothing. And it is so good that we can differentiate types of gunpowder on the clothing, the square or the round gunpowder, that type of thing. And again, it's another point of evidence. And it's very useful. And I think if we could play with some lenses and get alternative lighting and do a study on that, we could find out because some sort of a lens adaptation for just the light filtration and then using alternative light, I think we could come up with many more patterns in bruising, gunshot wounds, other residual elements that may be on the body.
Very
so
neat.
that you can bring them up, document them so well that before you recover it, you have the Mac allows you to say, here's the wound, here's the overall, the extension of the arm now, where you can easily do a 90-degree down on the full body is really great. And it allows you to give your overall, your medium, and bam, there's your close-up. So now there's no question to anybody where it was on the human body and what it is in relationship to other wounds and that type of thing. So
excellent. That's
yeah.
great. Graham, huge thanks for your time.
Sure.
We do appreciate it. I am terribly excited to have partnered in this with you from the beginning and spend some time with you. I look forward to hopefully developing more so it's even more useful for court cases.
Yeah, I'd like you to come to the sandbox with me and we could play.
We certainly will. We certainly will.
Come up with.
Yes. At this point, I'm going to give the floor back to Italy for the conclusion of our webinar. Thank you for sharing your time with us, folks in the audience, as well as Graham. If you have any questions, I think we'll be moving on to that soon.
Many thanks to Mr. Hetrick and to our colleague Tom for this interview. Now we are back me and Gianluca for answering to your questions. So if you haven't done yet, it's time to type the question in the Q&A box so we can answer to your doubts. I have collected already some questions, Gianluca, so I'm going to read them to you. So here is the first one. There are usually more than one tables in the autopsy room. Can I use your equipment for all of them?
Yeah, indeed. In this case, MacroVIEW comes on use because thanks to the mobility of this unit, because it's on wheels first, and it's on long-lasting battery, you can use it all day long over different tables and take pictures of the different cases. So despite the autopsy rooms can be multiple, you can share this this system MacroVIEW among them without recharging in between. So that's come actually on purpose.
Okay, moving on to another question. Are there any technical limitations in using the MacroVIEW?
No, indeed, because it has been designed to be very easy to use, to get immediate use without learning curve. So is a very user-friendly unit, and we have automated all the steps to get the file saved, images the most, into the case folder immediately. So you don't have to transfer any files manually because it goes straight into the folder named with a case ID, and also video and also audio in the same way. So limitations are really limited.
Okay, I can see one final question. So in case the attendees have any other question, now it's time to type them. So last question for you, Gianluca, for the moment. Are there any legal requirements regarding the equipment to ensure that photos are valid in court?
Yeah, this is a very peculiar question indeed. What we can say from the industrial point of view is that whenever you enter the case ID, along with all the pictures taken, embed, and within the data of this picture, you can find the date, time, operator, even the calibration of the picture, and as an embed, as a watermark, the case ID itself. So if it happens to print out this picture, you get the case ID and other details within the picture printed out. So this gives a lot of fidelity to the picture to be matched with a real case. And of course, it helps the validation of the process. I cannot get into the details of each region, state, or county as where MacroVIEW will be installed. But of course, all these safety features will help to get the system validated and take it for legal purposes.
Okay, I can see one last question. I guess we can answer to this one as well. Can you talk about the quality of the photos taken with the MacroVIEW?
Yeah, the quality of it for the picture taken are normally 20 megapixels, but more than enough to do any publication or presentation or printing. So the quality, it's sufficient to get all these things done. As the video recording is in a high definition quality, and the video is MP3 and MP4 format. So it's also an open format that you can copy and paste or embed into other systems.
Perfect. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so this platform will remain open just for a few other minutes so you are able to type any other question or comments if you want to send any comment to the US Coroner. Let me share with you one final slide where you can see our contacts. So in case you need to send out question or request a specific product demonstration, you can write us an email, and also you can find the next educational webinars scheduled for the next month. Registrations will open soon, and of course, you can always stay up to date with our events and news by following us on LinkedIn or Facebook. Thank you, everybody, for watching and participating. You will receive an email with the webinar recording tomorrow, and we hope to see you all next time. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.